All right, welcome back to Agent Tactics. I have an amazing guest today, Michele Bellisari. It's good to see you. We're going to go through and talk about niche marketing to different age groups, in fact. And so we're going to go through all of that as well. I just wanted to do a quick reminder for everyone. On Mondays, I send out the emails with what we have going on. So if you want to find the replays on these videos, they are going to be on the Agent Tactics YouTube channel. Also, my stand store, all the playbooks are getting posted in there as well. So a good one to definitely look at is the one with Raj Sahu. Last week we did the keywords one. I had the TikTok one up with Ian and why am I drawing a blank? Oh my God, Mindy. So we got all the tactics books are up on here. So the videos will link, they'll also link to the videos as well. If you do want to jump on a call with me to discuss YouTube, that's on there as well. So let's get to Michele. Michele, how are you doing today?
I'm good, other than my mini schnauzer who's yappy, who's
Oh,
decided to be very chatty on this call, so he may have to leave.
no worries.
All good.
I have two tired dogs in here today. I took them for a walk, so they are good to go.
Ugh,
Um, let's walk us through what are you doing, how you're getting business. Let's talk about
okay,
niche marketing. Let's get to it.
okay. Hey y'all, I'm Michele Bellisari. I'm down in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida, in the South Florida area between Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach, up in the Palm Beaches. I went through that housing market crash way back when in 2008, and it was a very difficult time for a lot of agents. And as I maneuvered my way out of it, got my house out of foreclosure, one of the things that really came to light was focusing on listing niches that had motivated sellers and not rely as much on the economic cycle, but the life cycle. And so, having gone through probate at a younger age, I was 28 and 35 when my parents passed away. Um, I looked at what did I enjoy doing, and one of the things that kind of came to light was working with people um, who really were going through a challenging time and putting those pieces together, mainly because grief doesn't allow you to really think the same way that you normally think because your brain is just tired. So people need help with that. I'd also been on the buyer side of some estate and probate properties. And what happened with that was found that the listing agents really didn't know as much about that transaction. So I felt like that was kind of a perfect storm. I went down to the Mike Ferry Superstar event in 2012 and came back and said, I need to learn how to list. And so that's what I did. So I started focusing on probate. And to this day, it is a pillar of my business. I'm in a little bit of a different chapter than maybe some of your viewers, being that I am a seasoned older agent. And I say that proudly. I've been doing this for 21 years. And I turned 62 in April. And I'm older than both my parents. So I say that because sometimes this isn't the sexiest niche, but it is a very lucrative niche where you truly can help people at the most difficult time in their world, right? So I learned how to do probate. It wasn't that different than my other transactions. It's little more heart centered, I think, but it also allowed me to take some of the skills that I had, which was cleaning out properties because I was cleaning houses after the market crash to make ends meet. Um, and pulling those pieces together for those sellers from out of state in particular. So I'm in South Florida. We have a lot of folks that inherit property from Jersey, from Pennsylvania, Ohio, up north. They're not here. So they're not able to really navigate, and they needed like a calm person to say, here's what you need to do. Here's what I would suggest. No, you don't need to come down for the closing. And let's get the house ready, to bring it to market. The flip side of that was networking with those attorneys and finding out where were those attorneys hanging out. The estate and probate attorneys. Oh, they have luncheons. Oh, okay. They have events. Okay. And getting to know them. But then the biggest piece is educating yourself on what those clients needed, but also understanding enough about the probate process. We're not attorneys, but enough to know, hey, do you have your letters of administration? Like, are you allowed to sell this house? And that's what happened to me a couple times when I was a younger agent, where I didn't know. And so, and being able to track the court case in public record and say, well, I can see what your attorney's doing. Let's nudge them a little bit, you know? And so I just found it to be a very rewarding niche, number
Okay.
one. So that's how I got really started into the probate piece, was having some personal experience, and then learning about it. You know, agents today want to do things like it's on Selling Sunset. Well, it doesn't work that way. You have to spend time learning, educating, understanding the niche that you want to go after. So if it's pickleball, right, which is hot, 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 then know everything about pickleball. Literally know the players in your community. Know where people are going to be playing pickleball. Know where the tournaments are, who's running everything, and really do a deep dive to be that go-to person. And that's the key to a niche, is being the go-to realtor in that niche, and then being the expert on the moving pieces so that you can truly get that closing to the end zone. And, you know, I'm a big football fan. Go Gators, go Dolphins, go Ohio State. I always can attribute stuff back to football in particular. And just getting, you know, those downs, first down, second down, third down, fourth down, get it across, you know, and that's the key. And in the niches that I work in, probate, seniors downsizing, and divorce, emotional niches. This isn't like the fun, like golfing community or boating community. They're a little more serious. So, you know, you want to make sure you're not going to fumble that ball.
Okay, so all right, I want to so your niche markets right now are probate and 55 and over, right? So those seem like they would go pretty hand in hand with each other. Um, so how is it that you're like when you're thinking about doing your marketing, and
Yeah.
we'll start with probate and then we'll get to the 55 and over community. So what I heard you say is that with probate, you just started finding the attorneys. What are some of the things, like if I personally wanted to start doing probate, what are like some of the checklist items I need to know off the bat? And then who do I start going to find probate?
So I think the most important thing to determine, Jeremy, is if it's a niche for you. That's number one. Not all niches are a good fit, right? So for me, it was a good fit having gone through it. The first thing that I did is I hired my daughter to go through my Google back then and create a list of attorneys that I might want to reach out to, might want to literally cold call. Like, talk about scary, cold calling attorneys, but I did. And then figuring out where they were and getting immersed in that community so I had a better understanding of what they were dealing with. That to me is the fastest way to get known. There are other ways to get immersed in it. You could, you know, search, you know, you can buy lists for probate properties. I teach agents how to find them for free, which is a real win-win. And you can certainly send a postcard, you can send a letter, you can send a handwritten note, you can cold call if that's something you want to do. But that's the best way that I can say to get started with that, is just immerse yourself in that entire process. Go to the courthouse, go sit in on a probate hearing. Great place to network. Back when I started, you couldn't get certain things online. I was at the courthouse 3 times a week sourcing the probate leads. It's not the easiest work, but you know, how many leads do you really, really need to have that nobody else knows about? Right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't need 100 leads. You need 5 good ones that you can work, and you can do that every week. I mean, you can find more than that, but how many can you really manage, you know,
Right.
and fill your pipeline? My background's pharmaceutical sales. So I'm all about the pipeline.
Okay. So what you're saying is just find out who the players are, get in touch with the players, either get lunches, find out where they're doing conferences. Now, as far as like if I wanted to break into the 55 plus community, right? What are
Yeah.
some of the things that I need to do as an agent that says, okay, I've identified that I want to work primarily with 55 and over.
Yeah.
What are my check boxes? What do I start doing?
So I'm going to say this because I think you have to align with the product, right? So 55 plus communities, you got to know everything about them. What about 55 plus communities is so appealing to somebody who wants to maybe move into them? Now, I typically am more so on the listing side. So again, you still want to know how everything about those communities. Most of them are gated, most of them have amenities. Sometimes there's a buy-in, there's golf, there's social, there's tennis. You want to know everything about it, and you want to know where they are, right? So with the 55 plus, I think the main thing is understanding why someone would want to move into that community, because there are some restrictions, and knowing what those restrictions are to be able to market yourself as the 55 plus expert. Um, it's just a matter of finding the product that's available in your community. So where I live in Boca, we have, I don't know how many 55 plus communities. We have a number of them, but they range in price. And Delray, Boynton, which is just north of me, I would say these are the three main cities that really have the most 55 plus communities. Lake Worth
Okay.
has a few, but my little circle, for sure. And they all, like, we have like the Kings Points and the Century Villages of the world where you can pick up a condo for like 100, 125. Now, years ago they were 30, right? Um, but some of them go, up into the luxury, and again, you can have the buy-in. So it's all about understanding the product that you want to niche into. And then
Okay.
again, who are the players in that? Like, are you in that age, right? So are you in those groups? Going back to pickleball, a lot of people are transitioning from tennis to pickleball because as you get older, your bodies just cannot sustain the hard courts and whatnot, and the physical piece of tennis, right? So
Mhm.
they're moving into pickleball. If somebody really wants to like get into the 55 plus, and you know that's your jam, and you're thinking pickleball, I think that's a great place to network big time right now. Like, it's huge, and it's not going away.
So get into pickleball really well.
I
Okay.
would.
Okay. All
Or
right. So
anything that has something to do with that age demographic.
okay. So I've identified the age demographic. Um I've identified what they're into. What's my next step?
The next step is, and this is something that I've done over the years, is I've had home buyer and home seller seminars. You could do webinars that talk about these communities, no different than new construction, and that's something that we're seeing. We're seeing some of these 55 plus communities that are new construction. You could certainly hold a webinar and talk all about that. You could go into those communities and go into the sales galleries and start coordinating with them. So there could be some nice 55 plus communities that are going up in your community. Go in and introduce yourself, do some social media, and talk about it. And I only share things that I do myself. So one of the things that I'm looking at is high-end luxury condos down here as an add-on niche right now, because the condo market's not good here because of the insurance and all of the assessments that are going on to bring these old condos up. So I have some listings in Pompano Beach, and I'm like looking at these four developments. So I went into one of the galleries yesterday and they toured me and I took some video. That's not 55 plus, that's luxury, but that's another niche that is one that people really want to crack. And, we're fortunate right now that we just launched a division here at Real.
Oh yeah, that's right. Ha-
Yeah.
happy to plug that. So you talked about doing like seminars. How am I getting that out in front of people? How am I getting, because obviously you can do seminars, but people got to show up. So what's the
Yeah.
process for getting people to show up to these things?
I think anytime that you're going to do an in-person seminar, you have to have a couple of really good hyper local speakers that are really knowledgeable about whatever it is that you're going to be talking about. So maybe that's a lender, maybe that is an elder law attorney. Maybe people need to redo their estate plan, right? So they're thinking of making a move. They're selling property in many cases, and they may be moving to a new state. They're down here on vacation, whatever it is. You got to make sure that you have players that are going to be speaking to them in regard to what their next steps are and a full understanding. So bring in maybe bring in a couple of those marketing folks from different 55 plus communities so they can talk about it and then set up the tours. That's a way to just do the attraction. You can market that through Facebook. You can market that through any of your social media. If you have an email list, you can send it out on an email list, and do the invites that way. Eventbrite is very, very effective, by the way, for that. And putting that out there. And of course, YouTube, you can always put things out on YouTube.
I like the Eventbrite. I feel like agents will see the Eventbrite, or because we do a lot of agent events, agents will see the
Yeah.
Eventbrite and show up from that. But okay, so look, I'm trying to get to the point. I'm brand new into this market and I'm trying to
Yeah.
break in. So if I'm brand new, if I'm Michelle, go back X amount of years, 2 years, right? When you
Yeah.
went and got into this niche, what's the play-by-play book that got me into and is going to get me business
The
in
55
these?
plus.
Yeah,
I would say for me, it was going to events, going to industry events, going to the different communities and plugging myself in. So going to luncheons where there were players from the different communities and getting known in that arena. I will tell you another secret that I did do is I started my own networking group and I was the only realtor and I invited a specific group of people to that and that started laying the groundwork for referrals,
okay,
right? And putting it out there. Plus, I am that age. So, but yeah, the younger me, that's exactly what I did. Starting my own group and getting known and having that one attorney, that one marketing person, those different community marketing people all day long. Because it's not just about the people buying the 55 plus, it's the people who are going to be selling. And the people who are selling 55, they're typically doing the downsizing. And that is huge. And that's where you can connect yourself with the assisted living communities, right? The independent living communities. Now they're kind of like side by side, they're together.
yeah,
And working with them to coordinate, that referral side. So you could do events at their communities, meet some of these people that already live in these communities, and then get those referrals.
okay. So now I've got a couple referrals because I've been doing this. How do I scale this? Right? I want to scale. I want to be the number one. How long does this take? How am I doing it?
I would say if you're going to scale, you really have to decide if you want to be solo, which I am a solo, or you want to have a team. And so if you want to scale, you're going to have to run, marketing, run some ads, get it out there, put it on your website. So I have landing pages. So for example, I can show you if you want me to screen share some landing pages that I
Sure.
have. Um, oh, if you can enable it for me, that would be great.
Yeah. Now try it.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, now let me see if I can find my on here. Hold on one second. Let me get rid of this. Make sure this is open. Okay, we'll try this again. Okay, so one of the things that I have is I have landing pages on my website. So for example, this one is for seniors that are downsizing. I'm adding some new components to my Lofty site. So there is actually going to be one specifically for 55 plus and one for new construction. So they're in the works right now. But for example, I have landing pages for the two niches, the two listing niches that I have currently on here. And as you can see, they're pretty comprehensive and letting them know why they need to choose my services, how to get their home value, setting up a call. And then I also have blogs. So for example, the 55 plus crowd, a lot of times they're also empty nesters that are making a move, or again, they're empty nesters who are like, I don't need this big house in my 55 plus community. I'm going to sell it. So the content piece is really important because you'd be surprised of how many friends in your sphere don't know that this is the niche that you work in. So you can put out a lot of blog posts. So like, for example, I've got this one on empty nesting. I've got different blog posts about probate. about seniors that are downsizing. So I've got them on my Lofty site. Um, Here is my probate one. Let me see if that came over okay. Can you see the probate one okay?
Yep. Yeah. See it.
Okay. So I've got this one here also set up now. And basically I'm just going to copy these for the other two and just tweak some of the pictures. But you can see some of the services that I offer. I will tell you that when you plug yourself in with attorneys, when you plug yourself in with the marketing directors at 55 plus communities, when you plug yourself in with the players and they can see what you offer, and it's typically more than the average agent, they love that. And then the big thing is collecting the testimonials from your clients, which is why Google My Business is such a powerful tool is getting those referrals, or excuse me, those testimonials from the sellers, from the buyers, and also from the attorneys that you're working with, which I have over the years. I've got a situation right now in a 55 plus community. It's an elder law attorney, and he referred me his father-in-law. That's a
Oh,
pretty
nice.
pretty nice compliment. So it is very referral based, in my opinion. Is, oh, well, she helped us out, you need to use her. Oh, this is the realtor that I would recommend because she's worked with a number of my clients. So it takes a little while, like any sort of niche that you're in. But the nice thing is, a lot of these niches that I'm talking about today, they're a little less crowded than, for example, the expired listing niche, right? Or the FISBO niche, because a lot of agents go after that. I'm a firm believer that, you really need to have some good listing niches that are not reliant on the economy. Downsizing, probate, and divorce, no matter what's going on, including a pandemic, once courts figured out how to like manage things by Zoom, these kind of deals started chugging along regardless. And then the whole market kind of took off. But this is the kind of thing because they need to sell. They have to sell. They need the money. They can't carry it. There could be medical expenses and things like that.
Interesting.
I know it's
What's
different, right?
Yeah, if you're finding value in this, drop a one in the chat. And then if you have questions or if you have comment, definitely do that as well. I see Jennifer's here. So
Hi,
hey,
Jen.
Jennifer, good to see you. Okay, so all right, so I'm plugged in now, right?
Yep.
I've created a landing page like yours. I've gone through, I've contacted some probate attorneys. What do you think? Now I'm starting to get some business. How do I promote this even further? How do I go on a much bigger scale?
I think, there's a few ways that you can do that. Um, I like having a few attorneys in my pocket, right? And again, interviewing them. Go on YouTube and interview these attorneys, interview people in that space because they're going to share that out there. So you can grow your brand by leveraging the interview. I love the interview for that reason and helping them share it to their social media. Let's face it, realtors, we're pretty good at sharing to social media. Most people are not. So you've got to just be prepared to say, hey, listen, if I'm going to interview you, here are my expectations. I will send you some things. Please put it on your social media, at least Facebook, right? And Facebook skews older anyway. So I don't really care about Instagram with these niches because that's typically not where that audience is hanging. They're on Facebook
Yeah,
and YouTube.
that was going to be my next question. What social media am I finding 55 and over?
I would say Facebook all day long and YouTube.
And YouTube too.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't think that about YouTube, but I don't that like when I look at my analytics, it's all obviously I'm younger. So
Yeah.
my analytics are 35 to 40 is realistically in men
Yeah.
are my age bracket. Okay. I don't know, did I
But
look?
see,
Did we have
here's a fun thing for your age bracket. Like, here's just for an example. Um, So, for example, I've written about this. We were huge Jimmy Buffett fans, right? Who doesn't love Jimmy Buffett? So, if that's your jam and you want to connect with other parrot heads, then start a parrot head group. Obviously, he passed away, but his music lives on, and there's cover bands, and you got Mac McAnally out there, and you got all these, the Eagles will probably end up doing something. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are little old school bands, but the thing that I'm finding, like, my kids love them. They're probably a little younger than you. And so now you've got a common thread, right? So with any niche, finding that common thread. So I'm a Florida Gator. If I really wanted to focus on working with other, Florida Gator alumni, I'd be hanging out at the Florida Gator bars, and meeting those alumni, folks that are local, So you just have to kind of decide like what niche is going to work for you based on where you are in your life cycle. So probate's probably not going to be necessarily for the younger agent unless you've truly had some experience with it and maybe some life experience too, right? And let's face it, again, my friend Shannon said this to me. It's not the sexiest niche, but it's a very lucrative niche. And I'm like, exactly. But it's a sensitive thing. But there's so many different types of niches. But my main message is always pick at least one listing niche that has motivated sellers. Like they've got to sell this property, whether it's by choice or court order.
By choice or court order. I like that.
Well, probate's court order sometimes. It's not
Yeah.
all the time, but it's a court order and it's a court process. So that's what I like about probate is like I had a referral from someone at Real was almost 2 years ago. And the agent really didn't realize that it was a probate situation in North Miami. And so I got on the call with her and she's lovely. And I started like poking around on my resources and I said, well, this is a probate case. She goes, oh, yeah. I said, well, why has it been in probate for over a year and a half? She goes, oh, well, let me tell you. So then I figured out, well, this was one of the most challenging ones I'd had in a long time. And it did have to go in front of the court to approve the contract. That doesn't always happen in that sense where that contract, everything had to be approved before we could close on it. But that was a challenging one. But I love that stuff. Like I can sink my teeth into it. I love helping my clients like get to that next chapter. We cry sometimes too. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like a happy necessarily. I've only had one person the entire time say, I am so happy I'm selling this house. I never want to go back again. Like,
Oh, wow.
okay, no problem.
That's funny.
You never
Okay.
know. Family dynamics are strange.
So what are some of the other things that you teach in your courses?
Well, mainly what I teach in the probate real estate boot camp is how to find free leads. Like they're public record and I teach agents really how to find the leads so that they don't have to pay for them and they can drill down and pick and choose the leads they want. And it's not a fair housing thing. This is simply about price and property, right? So if you want to focus on a $500,000 price point and you start sourcing, or in this case, I have my virtual assistant source leads for me. I can pick and choose those leads. I can say, hey, listen, when you're searching for me, I only want this price point and higher. So I like the fact that I can control that a little bit. And I'm actually doing a deep dive myself back into it. My daughter got married last year. It was my last year not having my own time. And so now, I'm really like deep diving back into it. I'm going to be doing a summer camp. I'm calling it summer camp. It's a boot camp for 4 weeks in June. And I teach that. I teach an overview of probate, but I'm not an attorney. So every state's going to be different, but enough so that at least agents understand the process, what's involved with it. I teach how to network with the attorneys. I teach how to create their brand. I have social media swipe files and things like that. And also looking at celebrity probate cases. We can learn a lot for our own personal selves of what we don't want to happen once we die. And, you can look at, Amy Winehouse, or you can look at Michael Jackson, or, there's like, even like last year, there was a whole thing going on with Priscilla Presley. Because Lisa Marie Presley passed away, they resolved that. But then you've got other cases out there that are very interesting to see what's going on. And the one thing that I was kind of following was Matthew Perry, because he died, right? And I'm like, he wasn't married, had no kids, just his mom and dad and siblings. And I was like, oh God, I hope he had an estate plan. Like I would think he would, but you'd be surprised at how many high-end, wealthy, celebrity, whatever, they don't have anything, and thus they end up in probate. I just had a friend call me the other day and I said, did your mom do any estate planning? She goes, no. I'm like, oh, and there's going to be a house. So, these things happen, but you can tap into the celebrity stuff and kind of like gleam some good content from that. You can talk about that, put up a green screen and say, hey, if you don't want this to happen, don't do this, da 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 da. And you've got the SEO and the keywords: probate, inherited property, estate sale. One of the things too that can happen is you can have a side gig with, if you want to also handle doing estate sales. You could set up a business to do that as well with any of these: seniors, downsizing, divorce, whatever. But you could do that. It's a lot of work. I wouldn't recommend it. I would just find companies that can do
Okay.
that.
All
But
right.
you'd be surprised. I've had estates that have cars and boats, you know?
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how I'd apply a lot of this into how I'm niching. I mean, I niched pretty well by getting into YouTube, but if I was
Yes.
looking for another niche, how would I do that? And what I'm hearing a lot of what you're saying is find the people that are going to associate with that niche the most, right? Attorneys,
Yeah.
whatever it is, we could pick whatever that is. Get with those people, get in front of those people, network. You're going to have to do the dirty work to get, quote unquote, dirty work to get in front of those people. But it's not just show up, I have business. And I think that's what a lot of agents think is I
Yeah.
can just show up and immediately have business.
Right. It doesn't work that way. This is not an easy business. And clearly we know with what's going on now, it's gotten a lot more difficult. Now, am I overly concerned about it? No. We will work through it. We've worked through very tough times as a real estate community. So I don't borrow worry. I'm like, okay, well, we'll deal with what we need to deal with at hand right now. But tried and true, I do like these three in particular, but you do have to jump in. So, I talk to agents, consult with them, and I'm like, well, tell me about your business. What do you love? What do you want to do? Like, what would bring you joy in your business? And I will tell you right now, the one thing I hear from my seasoned agents is you do get to a point, Jeremy, where running around with the buyers is just not necessarily feasible all the time. You're tired, things like that. So you want to make sure that you have, in my opinion, that listing funnel set up so that you have a little more control over your time and what you're doing. And if you are like a mom, the mom agents, they got a lot going on, right? Kids, sports, um, whatever the kids are doing. So it's about controlling situations, right? So then they got to figure out, well, what's going to help them control the situation, get their time back, and have a pipeline versus, working with buyers who, can be flaky. Let's face it.
Awesome. Well, I don't see any other comments or questions in the comment section. So I think I've got a lot of my questions answered. I'm thinking about how I would put this into, luxury, obviously, doing luxury tours, posting
Yep.
luxury tours, where are my luxury clients at? Where am I going to find them? Am I going to find them at the cigar bar in 78704? Yep.
Yep.
Or in Westlake? Maybe. Am I going to find them at the golf course in Westlake? Most likely.
Yep.
So,
And
getting into
luxury
the network of
probate,
those people
luxury
there.
seniors, that's a real deal,
Yeah.
for sure. So you can find them, you just have to kind of get back to networking, folks. That's what I'm telling you. Get off your computer and get back to networking. That means in-person networking. Get your ass out there and start doing what we all used to do, right? And some of you haven't ever really done that. My advice about networking is go to an event, know why you're going, target 3 or 4 people that if you can find out who's going ahead of time so that and don't talk about yourself. Like talk about, like go to ChatGPT and come up with a few questions that are starter questions, like for attorneys. Hey, what made you choose doing probate and estate law versus, um, you know, a different type of law? Like, don't be talking about I'm a realtor and this is what I do. Find out what they're doing so that you can align with what it is that they're trying to do. Oh, one of the other things that I was going to say for any of these, charity events are always awesome. especially with seniors, especially with 55 plus, especially I think with probate because of, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things like that. There's always charity events going on. You can volunteer, you can buy a table, you can buy a ticket and commit to a table and then invite people to the table. And that's another great place that you can network.
You said something there a second ago that's just stuck in my brain. I've heard a lot of different things. I was literally watching a podcast with this guy who was a con artist, um, and it was with Graham Stephan, and he had defrauded. He started out in mortgages and figured out how to. This is back, before some of the lending laws changed. And one of the things he said is, sometimes you just have to ask a question or make a statement and then just shut up. I think sometimes as agents, we're always taught to sell. So it means we got to keep talking and keep saying. And what I've learned with, especially working with more luxury clients, it's ask a question and then listen. Because the people that I've worked with, especially that are high net worth individuals, they don't want to hear me talk about how many homes I've sold and how great I am and how. What they want to hear is they want to. A lot of times they want to speak, and then you just listen. And then that's what they want. And so, I've got a lot of high net worth clients I work with now. And so I will ask a question and just listen. Listen.
Mhm.
Oh, awesome. Well, tell me more about that and tell me more about that. But it's the same thing with any other client. The more you ask clients about them, you build the relationship. So they want to work with you because you seem genuinely interested, whether you are or aren't, right? You're more interested. And once you're more interested, they're more engaged in wanting to work with you. If we go around and just sell our sales, then you could almost repel people a little bit more than you're actually attracting people. So for me, it was funny because listening to this con artist, I was like, wow, that's actually what I've done very well. Good thing I'm not a con artist.
Yeah.
Right? Is
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes it's ask a question and just shut up and listen. So
That's
awesome.
what that's what makes Jimmy Fallon so good at the interview, right? Like these guys at night in particular, they are masters at asking the question and shutting up. And that's when they get the best responses from the celebrities that are on the show, right? And that's a craft. And part of sales is listening.
Well, I use that tactic too a lot. Sometimes, when you're in a negotiation or um, when you're dealing with a situation, if you literally are the one who's silent, the one who is silent the longest wins, right? Because the other person starts to get uncomfortable or whatever, and then they start speaking. And then you're going to get more information. So that's why sometimes I'll ask a question and I'll just wait and wait and wait and let somebody just talk and talk and talk. And then I'll ask a follow-up question and then I just be quiet.
Yeah.
So amazing stuff. Okay, well, look, I got to jump on a call with Sonia here in a minute. So I appreciate everybody for coming in. You can reach out to Michele on her socials. Find her on Facebook, Michele Bellisari, or she's on Instagram as well. Again, next week we have Ed Stulak coming on talking about his follow farming, and he's got a new book out that
New
is
book.
it's all up on everything. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Jeremy.